Alright guys, hey there, this is Rourke. I'm gonna try my hand at kind of casting things. I know a lot of people want to know kind of the easiest way to climb Elo, so this is gonna be kind of, I don't know, my first video, my attempt at showing you guys how I like to play Nocturne. This is kind of, I'll leave the loading screen up just because I kind of want to talk about team comp. In solo queue games, it's important to just kind of let your team play whatever they want. I know a lot of people rage if someone doesn't pick a character that they really want. Like, for example, our last pick was Poppy, and we needed a ranged attack damage. So when they instant-locked Poppy, we were kind of like, eh. But at the same time, it doesn't really matter. What you want in solo queue is you want people that can play their best champions. So that kind of rant aside, we can actually go into the gameplay. I'm not going to speed it up quite yet, just because I want to talk and bore you all to death, but hopefully you'll learn something. I like to play Nocturne. He's pretty much a first pick, pretty commonly banned. He's really powerful. He carries very well. He also jungles incredibly fast, and I like to carry from the jungle. That's probably my favorite role to play, simply because I think it's one of the most potent game-changing roles in the game. Some people would disagree, but it just is whatever you feel like playing. Right here at level 1, we have Blitzcrank. We're going to go try and invade the enemy jungle because it's Fiddlesticks, and we figure that he's going to start at blue. Most of them do start there. We see V. We don't see them. They have a pretty nasty level 1 team between Ezreal, Garen. They can output a lot of damage at level 1. So we're playing very cautious, and when we go and we try and invade over here, we don't find them. We think they might be at our blue, so again, playing very cautious, letting the Blitzcrank go first. Because if we kind of find them before they find the rest of our team, we know we'll win that engage. But we don't find them, so I'm just going to speed it up a little bit here. Because honestly, watching someone jungle is very boring. Not a glorious thing to watch. Much more fun to watch the lanes. But with Nocturne, I start Wolves, and then I go to Wraiths. And I just like to go for a fast 6 usually, because Nocturne becomes really, really powerful after 6. So I go back here, and then I buy Cloth Armor and a Potion. This helps me do blue and stay full health. I like to stay full health when I go through this run of the jungle, because it really lets me have some ganking power a little bit later. And right about here is when I noticed that this Garen is really, really overextended. And the Udyr is kind of having some trouble. His health bar won't update, unfortunately, but I can tell that he's going to need some help soon. But I know that it's going to be tough to gank before 4. And I get the extra camp just because I know that the Garen's not going to push anytime soon. Anyways, I know that Garen, he's going to be gankable, and I see that Udyr has exhaust from his summoners. So I run up, and I fear the Garen. This gives us first blood. The Udyr also plays really well here, running into the other bush after he gets ignited. But, so we pick up first blood, and then I make a mistake here, actually. I thought that he would go back, but I forget Udyr is Udyr. And I push his lane, which is usually bad. But sometimes after I get a gank off, I like to push the lane, just farm the creeps. Because I know that people say junglers shouldn't farm lanes, but they should. You should farm a lane any chance you get. See, we get first blood just in time before the Poppy decides to die. And everybody makes mistakes in a game, so a lot of solo queue is psychological. You don't ever want to rage at your teammates, it makes them play poorly. So just when things like that happen, you just kind of just let it happen. Don't rage. Here I go in for a gank on Katarina. I miss my Q, so I just back out. It's just kind of doing things like this where you appear in a lane makes the laner nervous. It makes them not want to overextend, and it's really, really, really important if you're jungling. When you jungle, even though I'm trying to go for a fast 6, which I do get, especially because I got first blood and farm top for just that one small wave, you just need to show yourself. A lot of people make the mistake of trying to jungle and get to the fast 6 and then never showing themselves, and this, against players like this that are really good in the 1700 range currently, they will pick up on that and they'll push their lanes, especially if they know that you're not going to have a presence. So here I hit 6 and I come down, and I decide to initiate on the Nidalee because she can't flash away like the Ezreal can. But then the Blitzcrank kind of misses his grab. I get 2 flashes out of it, and that's fine for me. 2 flashes means that the lane down there is going to be able to play a lot more aggressively, especially because I just kind of made myself known down there. But anyways, I'm gonna go back here. Gonna buy some items. I get a really early Wriggles Lantern. which is good. I normally never get that, but I got first blood, and I farmed a lane. So what I do here is I make another mistake, actually. I go into this bush, and I underestimate the Udyr, kind of. You can see that he initiates with the exhaust, thinking that I'll go in earlier, but I don't, which is my bad, completely on that one. I don't have my ult, though, so I couldn't have done anything there. I made him waste his exhaust, which is really bad. And then I say no ult, but I mean, it was my fault, and then I knew it, so. Continuing here, I decide to go middle for the Katarina, because I'm actually duo queued with this Kasten here. He's my buddy. But I know that Katarina is really weak when she doesn't have her minion wave. So you can see right here, the minion wave is at the other tower, and it mirrors this. So my friend is like, we gotta go now, because otherwise she's just gonna shoot back to minions. So he goes in, gets a nice silence, and we kind of just chain our damage together. He gets the ignite, and we back out. So that picks up a kill for us. Another important thing is when you have a really strong solo mid, like Kasten, he's not actually a very strong laner, but if you give him blue, it makes him really unstoppable. So giving away your buffs early on certain characters, like Nocturne doesn't need blue. That's good on him, but he doesn't really need it. So giving it away to your AP solo is a really good thing, but on the flip side of that, if your AP solo isn't doing well, you really just want to kind of keep the buffs for yourself. You have to be selfish in solo queue, because right now I'm 1-0-1, and that means that I'm really powerful. It puts me a step above every other character in the game, except for maybe the Ezreal, because the Ezreal's farming well, and he has a kill. But other than that, just kind of decide if you want to give your buffs away, and make it known. I like to keep red. You can see later the Udyr actually takes several of them, which is fine. Red is just as good on Udyr as it is on Nocturne, especially because the way that I build Nocturne makes it so it's better. Anyways, I just kind of missed this, but here I see the fiddles going up, so I ping for a counter gank because he has no idea that I was waiting in that bush over there. I flash out here because I don't want fiddles to heal or get that much damage on me. The Kassadin comes in and cleans up, which is really awesome, and then the Katarina comes in, and I know that I will die in her ult because my flash is down, so I stay way out of the fight. The Udyr also flashes out, but we got 2 kills out of it, and pretty much destroyed Fiddles because he had just gotten blue. You can see the timestamp is 11, and he had just come from right over here near his blue. So that was really good because we essentially wasted his entire blue buff and gave it to Udyr. Moving on, you can see that bottom lane is having a lot of trouble because having a ranged and a good support against Poppy and Blitzcrank is going to put them at a big disadvantage no matter how well they play. So I come in for a gank here. We kill the Ezreal. We back out because I could have last hit that, but I saw the Ignite was on it. And I know that I'm going to get the assist, and it's more important right now for bottom to get fed. So we speed it up, and someone pings Dragon. I'm not sure if it was the Blitzcrank or the Poppy, but I was down for that. And then Fiddles is missing, and I know he has his ult. So it's actually a really bad idea, because I know between Dragon, the Nidalee that's still bottom, and Fiddles, he can kill all of us, and probably get Dragon, because he would just focus me down. My spell shield wouldn't even help me. Anyways, a lot of solo queue is just kind of making decisions like that on your own. Obviously, I'm playing with some really competent people, which helps. They're not feeding. I don't have anybody doing anything poorly. They know the same things that I do usually, just that Fiddles will rape us all, so they know to back out. So, speeding this up again. Right now, the Poppy has told me that bottom lane isn't going to last much longer, and you can see by the health that that's quite true. So I kind of sit here. I think that maybe they'll dive. Well, not dive. I think that maybe they'll get aggressive and try and finish off the tower. So I wait here, because my ult will be in range. And here I make a huge mistake. You can see that when I come up to the tower, I'm just kind of trying to stay out of creep vision, because I have my ult. And then the Blitzcrank goes in really, really far. He dives all the way to their tower, because I baited him into this engage. And he dies really fast, and then I get greedy and I get exhausted, and it makes my Q not kill the Nidalee, and I take 2 tower hits, and then Ezreal crits me, and I give Ezreal a double kill. That's awful, and that was my bad. But you can see that you just kind of want to be really careful, not bait your teammates into stuff like that. It makes the Blitzcrank really angry, but whatever. That was my fault. I was not used to playing with people that were that good, so he was trying to engage for me, which is exactly what he should have been doing, and I make the mistake of just not engaging. I was kind of sitting at the tower thinking that he'd just go into the bush, and then he surprised me, but whatever, we get over it, and we see 2 top, Udyr dies, and I see Fiddlesticks, and he's their jungler, which means that there's no smite, there's no big ult and extra damage that can kill me. So I begin Dragon, because if we get Dragon, that kind of evens out the loss that we have top. So, long story short, we get Dragon, but the Garen flashes in and kills Caston, which is unfortunate. And then we get out because Fiddlesticks is coming, and I just have to leave the Blitzcrank. Another part of solo queue and any game is you just kind of have to cut your losses. In that case, Dragon wasn't worth it. 2 people died, we lost top, and Fiddles was able to even get down here and pick up another kill. I ping blue, and I start it, and then I realize that the Caston is dead, which is bad. But he hurries over, gets the blue, and then I continue. Here, they keep overextending bottom because they get really kind of cocky. And then I flash. I usually don't use flash for offensive purposes, especially on junglers, just because the cooldown is so long without being utility spec'd. But it's a good choice to use flash there because it picked us up a double kill. Or picked me up a double kill. But all of my teammates got assists for that. So that puts me really far ahead, especially because I'm 4-1 and 3. And you can see my build on Nocturne. I like to kind of piecemeal it. I don't like to get everything at once because I think Nocturne's really, really strong, and I capitalize on certain parts of his game. He's got the natural kind of tankiness of an attack damage melee hero, just because he has to get in range of stuff, so he gets the scaling armor and magic resist. And I pick up the Giant's Belt after I get Brutalizer, and then I'm going to build that into a Warmogs, but you can see I kind of go about it in an odd way. To stay relevant in early team fights, I don't rush the health immediately because Brutalizer is such a potent item. It just reduces your cooldowns, it gives you extra damage, and then I don't finish the Ghostblade though because I don't think it's entirely worth it, especially with the advantage that Brutalizer gives me, and I'm so far ahead right now. I want to rush my Warmogs because we don't have a tank really. Blitzcrank is support right now, and Poppy is just not farming that well. And Udyr is doing really well, and he's going to build tanky, but I want 2 people that are able to take a lot of hits, because between Fiddlesticks and Katarina we're not going to live unless we're CCing them before they can get their ults off for catching them. And then here's another good time, because we pick up this Katarina kill top. The Fiddlesticks ults in, doesn't kill me, and then the Udyr gets him low enough and we kill him. So that was a really good play on the Udyr's part. Then Italy comes in trying to fix it, and I think we just kind of screw around a little bit, not really accomplish anything. We do take top though. So we grab top, which is good. You want to push lanes whenever you can as a jungler. Obviously you don't want to push lanes if the person is still farming it, but once it gets to this point in the game, you just need to push. Even if they're farming, just be stubborn and tell them that you should be pushing. Anyways, I go back to base, pick up a Ruby Crystal. I'm really close to finishing my Warmogs now, so I just start farming the jungle. I see that Nidalee is coming in. She's smart enough to not face check blue. So I continue kind of going down here, waiting to see if they make a mistake out of position, which they do. And Ezreal gets really, really, really far. And then I ult him. One thing to note as a jungler, you should never be sitting in one place too long. You just need to always be moving. You're roaming, basically. Back when the roaming meta was popular, that's why it was so strong. So just kind of capitalize on that. Here my team kind of makes a mistake, but it turns out well. Just because we're so far ahead at this point, it's 15-9. We have 1 dragon. So I come in. The Blitzcrank and the Poppy die immediately, but we know all their cooldowns are down because Fiddlesticks and Katarina both blew their ults on them. So we pick up 2 kills off that, and the Ezreal wasn't even with them, so we could have easily won that fight, but we chase them off, and then we push middle. Just kind of make a mistake and take some tower hits there, but it's not a perfect game. It is a very good game, though. Kind of just kiting them around right now, getting to the blue buff. letting Cassidy have it. This is when we're contesting Dragon. We make some mistakes here. We get a little bit too aggressive and lose some health. The Blitzcrank isn't able to pull anybody. We have Oracles on him, which is a really good buy, because they've been buying a lot of wards. But I kind of start Dragon, and then I get low because I take an Ezreal Q to my face. So they've essentially poked us down, which is what their team is good for, most of it, at least the Nidalee and the Ezreal. So the Garen sneaks around back and almost kills the Blitzcrank, which would have been bad. He would have lost his Oracles, but anyways, at this point we concede Dragon because there's no way that we're going to be able to stop them with our current health. Poppy and Cassidy are kind of trying to scare them, but they're not going to be able to do anything. So I go back, and Udyr goes to farm top. And we all made the right decisions here. We would have lost that fight. So I go back and buy my Warmogs, because you want to try and buy items like that as fast as you can. They're big, they make a huge impact on team fights, because before late game, everybody's kind of countered by health just because of their base damages. So you can see I haven't built a lot of resistances yet, except for this, because between Katarina and Fiddlesticks, I know that most of the damage I'm going to be taking is magic. So I rushed the component for my my Merc Treads right here. And I know that that'll come in helpful, just because the majority of their damage is magic. Between Nidalee, Katarina, Fiddlesticks, I shouldn't be worried about Garen, and Garen shouldn't be going for me anyways, just because that would be a waste of all of his cooldowns. And I continue to farm. We force a flash there. Or actually, I think Blitzcrank is the one that flashed. At this point, we're just trying to catch them out of position like that, and Blitzcrank lands an amazing pull on the Katarina, which I immediately initiate on, and that's really good for us. Trying to sandwich them between these 2 points was really good for us, because the Blitzcrank was able to land a great pull, and then I was able to kind of go in on that. We pick up Baron right here, which puts us amazingly far ahead. We're 10 kills ahead. I'm 7-1-7. We have 2 towers. They have more towers than us, but that's not that big of a deal. We're so far ahead at this point that we can just continue to force fights and pretty much win every fight. The puppy told everybody to go back and heal, basically, which is exactly what we should do. We've got a lot of gold off of the last team fight and Baron, and in order to stay ahead, you need to go back and buy items. A lot of people like to sit and let gold accumulate, and it's not a good thing, because then when you fight next, if you still have 3,000 gold, you're essentially at on the same playing field as them, because you haven't spent your gold. Anyways, rather than waste our Baron, which a lot of people constantly do, when you have Baron, you essentially are pushing monsters. You regen, so you need to take advantage of it. We head middle. Middle's a great objective to take. It gives you the most map control when you take it. You should always go for middle when you get a chance. We see that there's one of them top, so we know we can kind of force a fight here. Fiddlesticks Zanya's at a good time, but he still dies just because he's so squishy. He hasn't built any survivability. He just built a Zanya's. And that's an odd choice, honestly, because our team is a majority of magic damage, I'm sorry. Can't tell what damage is what. But anyways, myself, and pretty much myself is the only attack damage. But see, none of them have really built any magic resist, and that's the majority of what our team is, so that was poor play on their part. The Blitzcrank is amazing with his pulls. He's landing them all over the place and forcing flashes. You can see kind of how I play Nocturne in team fights. This isn't a great game for that, just because we're stomping them so hard, but with the way that I build Nocturne with the Warmogs and eventually the Atmas, he's kind of a tanky assassin. I play him not as an initiator, just as a secondary initiator. Sometimes if I'm this fed, honestly, I can play him as a primary initiator, and he works amazingly because his ult just messes people up. But when you build like this, you're really, really tanky. You can take a lot of abuse. You need to be out front. So next time there's a team fight, I'll try and hopefully there's a decent one. But right now, I noticed that I have 1300 gold, and I know that Atmos is 1455 after the Chain Vest. So I'm kind of trying to get that, because that's going to be an amazing item that helps me scale really well. Because right now I'm starting to fall a little bit behind in terms of damage. I can probably still kill the Fiddlesticks, but the Ezreal is going to be able to blink away before I can burst him and fear him. So here I go trying to get my Warmogs. I also wanted to get level 16 because there are 3 important benchmarks in levels, which is 6, 11, and 16 on most characters. That means that you have level 2 of your ult. And level 3 and level 1. I don't know why I said level 2. But this kind of... The Blitzcrank, again, actually makes a really good call. He's sitting in this bush, just catching them in their jungle. It's one way to counter Fiddlesticks. His Fiddlesticks is honestly not that good. But one way to counter Fiddlesticks is just look at all these wards we have in their lower jungle. That allows us to free push this. We can see any of the movement that they're doing. And then we can just catch the Fiddlesticks unaware, especially with Nocturne. Nocturne's ultimate is amazing for catching people out of position, just because it's such a huge range and it lets no one else know what's going on, so it's hard for them to react. I'm really bad with tower aggro, as I'm sure you've noticed. There's like 8 times in this video where I've just kind of taken tower hits to the face. Here we're about to make another mistake. This one's actually not mine. I'm out of mana basically, so I can't do much. And the Poppy gets a little bit greedy, and the Fiddlesticks is up now. And the Poppy ults the Garen and decides to go in. You can see Fiddlesticks ulting right here. She goes really hard all the way in there, and then the Fiddlesticks catches the Kassadin out of position, and I really can't do anything because I'm out of mana. I could have maybe tanked the turret, but honestly, wouldn't have helped that much. So what we do here is we just know that that was really bad, and we all back out because our oracles died, and then our 2 highest damaged characters died as well. And the Poppy's complaining about dodge because apparently Garen dodged her last hit, but... Anyways, I make a comment. That's about all you should say in solo queue, though. You never want to berate your teammates too much, because if someone gets upset, they will just feed. They'll get frustrated, and they won't feed on purpose. They'll just do poorly. They won't play their best. So just always try and be nice. That's one way that you can... Honestly, you can carry a game just by being nice. Because if your team gets frustrated, they'll try and surrender, and low morale is an easy way to lose a game. But that said and done, we can speed it up. We know Baron's going to be up soon, just because, essentially, if your Baron buff runs out, which it did on me, and you don't have it timed, you can know that Baron's going to be up about 2.5 minutes after your buff goes out. So, we see the Nidalee out of position, and I try and get her. I hit my Q, and then I kind of derp a little bit, and miss my E. But, right now we're contesting Baron. Blitzcrank has bought oracles again, and we've cleared out all their wards in this section. So the Blitzcrank is playing his role well as support, and look at these wards that he's put down. He's put down so many wards, and it lets us have complete control over every movement they're going to have towards Baron. So they have no vision on it, they clairvoyance it. Nidalee is trying to kind of peter out where we are by spearing us, but once their clairvoyance fades, I know I can kind of do Baron with impunity. But you can see me play really, really poorly right here. It's honestly a huge mistake on my part. The Blitzcrank is trying to zone them, but the Blitzcrank is really squishy, so I'll slow this down a little bit. I don't know why, but I stopped focusing Baron, and I'm the smite, and that's awful. I could have lost us the game here, but I decided that I want to try and focus down the characters that are killing us. Luckily, our Udyr actually knows what he's doing when it comes to Baron, unlike me, and he finishes Baron for us. So right here, I know that Garen is a huge threat, and he's going to be able to kill Kassadin, who's our main source of damage. So that's the only reason I'm on him right now, because I know that my team is taking care of the other threats right now. This Udyr is hella fed and doing crazy things. The Garen kills the Kassadin anyways, so this was another mistake on my part. But then we proceed to focus him down. He dives too far and pays for it. But then over here you can see the Udyr has just done work, and then the Fiddlesticks gets zoned completely by the Blitzcrank. So we kill the Garen, he dives into our team. That was good focus on our part, because we know that the Udyr and the Blitzcrank can handle the other characters in between them. So I save my ult for as people are trying to escape, and then I ult onto the Ezreal, and auto-attack him once for the kill. And then the Blitzcrank kind of finishes off the Fiddlesticks. Like I said, the Blitzcrank is very good. He knows what he's doing. And that's honestly, it was game a while ago, but that kind of seals the deal. We proceed to get this tower with Baron. So essentially what won us that game was we got really far ahead with ganks. I ganked every lane and got them far ahead. And then you just force fights, and that's what we did. We forced fights hit Dragon. We made a lot of mistakes though. So you can kind of watch those and learn from them, especially me. I made several mistakes that game, like bottom with Blitzcrank. I baited 2 teammates into wasting summoners, and I even baited 1 into dying, and then I messed up very hard at Baron. And a competent jungler could have easily smite stolen that from me. The Fiddlesticks could have ulted in and smote it, and that would have probably lost us that team fight, honestly. But luckily, the Udyr knew what he was doing with his Wriggles, and we had a pretty good team. So that's that, and hopefully you learned a little bit. I'll try and do some more if you guys like these, so give me some feedback. Thanks.